I lent them $40,000 when he lost his job. I never asked for a dime back. When I slipped and broke my arm on their porch, my son-in-law said, "If you're gonna sue, do it fast. We're busy." I was still in the ER when they blocked my number. But I still had copies of every transfer, every receipt. What I did with them next made headlines. Hi. My name is Joanne. I'm 63, live alone in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I've always been the kind of person who shows up when people need help. Maybe it's from being raised by my grandma after my mom overdosed, or maybe it's just who I am. I don't know. But I've spent most of my life taking care of others. I raised 2 girls, Mallory and Dana, completely on my own after my ex left in 1994. He packed his stuff one night, said this isn't the life I wanted, and never looked back. I had a toddler and a baby in diapers. I worked cleaning motel rooms in the mornings, waitressed at a diner in the evenings, and restocked shelves at Hy-Vee on weekends. It was rough. I didn't have help from anyone, not even my own siblings. But I made it work. I always did. This story is about Mallory, my oldest. And it's about what happens when the people you've sacrificed everything for turn their back on you the second you become inconvenient. It started small. Craig, Mallory's husband, lost his job. He worked at a grain elevator up near Del Rapids. There was an accident, not his fault, but the company shut down for a few weeks, then laid off half the crew. Craig was one of them. Mallory called me one night crying. Said they were behind on the mortgage, had 2 kids to feed, and didn't know what to do. I didn't even hesitate. I asked how much they needed to catch up. She said $2,000. I transferred it that night. That was the first time. Then came the car battery, then a broken water heater, then the twins needed new shoes and school supplies. I helped every time. The worst was Craig's dental bill. He cracked a molar and needed surgery. No insurance. That one cost $3,800. I paid it all. Over a year and a half, I sent them more than $40,000. Never asked for anything in writing. No promissory note. I didn't want one. They were my family. I figured they were just going through a rough patch, and I could help them get through it. Someday, they'd pay it forward. Or maybe they'd help me when I was older. That was the thought, anyway. January 7th. That's the day everything changed. It was the twins' 6th birthday. I baked them little number-shaped cakes. One had blue sprinkles, the other pink. I packed everything into a tote bag and drove over to their house. The driveway was slick, snow packed down like ice. I climbed up the front porch steps slowly, holding the bag close to me so I didn't drop the cakes. I don't remember exactly how it happened. One second I was standing. The next, my feet went out from under me. I landed hard, so hard it knocked the air out of me. My arm twisted under my body, and I knew right away something was wrong. I'd broken bones before. This was worse. I screamed. The pain was blinding. No one came out for a while. Finally, the door opened. Craig stood there holding a coffee cup. He didn't even look surprised. Just looked down at me and said, "What happened?" I told him I fell and I thought my arm was broken. He stood there another second, then muttered, "If you're gonna sue us or something, do it fast. We're busy this week." That's the exact sentence. Burned into my brain. Then he turned and walked back inside. I laid there for another minute, trying to breathe through the pain. My phone was still in my pocket, and I managed to call 911 myself. Paramedics came and got me loaded into the ambulance. I kept thinking Mallory would show up at the hospital. She didn't. I tried calling her from the ER. Straight to voicemail. I tried again later. Then I texted her. Message failed. Tried again. Same thing. That's when I realized she'd blocked my number. My daughter blocked me. while I was sitting in an emergency room with a shattered arm. The next few days were quiet. I waited to hear from her. Nothing. Dana, my younger daughter, said Mallory told the family I faked the fall to make them look bad. That I was trying to take their house. That crushed me. More than the fall. More than the broken arm. Then something flipped inside me. I got angry. I wasn't going to be the villain in a story where I did nothing but help. So I pulled out the manila folder I'd kept in the closet, every bank statement, Venmo transfer, email receipt, text asking for help. I added it up. $40,312.77. I called a lawyer. Angela Mendez. A family friend recommended her. She didn't say much at first, just looked through the papers and nodded. After 10 minutes, she said, "You've got them. We can file under fraud, or even elder financial exploitation. Depends how far you want to go." I wasn't sure what I wanted. I didn't want to destroy them. But I wasn't going to be discarded like garbage either. We filed the lawsuit. Craig and Mallory were served at their door 2 weeks later. They never showed up to court. Didn't respond to the summons. Nothing. Angela filed for a default judgment. It was granted. But that wasn't what made the story go viral. What did it was Craig's uncle. He owns a bar and went on Facebook ranting about how awful it is that old people sue their own children for money. Said I was jealous, that I was bitter and vindictive. That post got shared all over town. So I posted my own. It wasn't dramatic. Just pictures. Screenshots of every transfer, every email from Mallory asking for help, and the bank records showing the dates and amounts. I ended the post with one sentence: I helped them for 18 months. When I broke my arm on their porch, they told me to sue them fast because they were busy. It exploded. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of comments. People I hadn't heard from in years started reaching out. The local news picked it up. Then another station. I didn't expect it to go that far, but I wasn't ashamed. I told the truth. A week later, my hospital bill, over $9,000, was paid off in full. No one told me who did it, but I know it was Mallory. I could feel it. But no one apologized. Not a word. Now, 15% of Craig's paycheck goes into my account twice a month. Court ordered. I didn't ask for that. But I'm not stopping it either. They moved out of their house. Couldn't afford to stay. I hear they're renting a duplex now. People say I should forgive them. That it's just money. But it wasn't. It was trust. It was love. And they threw it out like trash the moment I needed something. This story isn't done yet. After the dust settled a little, things got quiet. Too quiet. I knew it wasn't really over. People like Craig don't take humiliation well, and Mallory, well, she was never good at facing consequences. 3 weeks after they moved into that duplex, Dana called me. "Mom," she said, her voice low, "you should see what they're posting." I didn't have Facebook anymore. After the story went viral, I shut my page down. Too many strangers digging into my life. But Dana still had hers. She sent me screenshots. Mallory had made a new post. A long one. It started with a fake apology, something about "sorry things happened this way," and then turned into this weird twisted story. She said I was mentally unstable, that I had a history of manipulation, and that she and Craig had tried to help me financially for years. Every word was a lie. She even said I threw myself down the stairs for attention. That one made me laugh. Out loud. Not because it was funny, but because it was so far from the truth, it didn't even sting. It was like watching a stranger talk about someone who wasn't me. But it did something worse. People started believing her. A few old family friends, people I'd known since Mallory was in diapers, started backing away. One even messaged me saying they didn't want to get involved in a family feud. A family feud? That's what this was now. It was like I'd stepped into a version of my life where up was down and wrong was right. I didn't know what hurt more, what Mallory said, or the fact that people believed it. But I kept my head down. Let the courts handle it. The garnishment continued. I got $612.34 every 2 weeks. I didn't spend it. I kept it in a separate savings account. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about keeping the proof. Then one day, I noticed the deposit didn't hit. I waited a few days. Nothing. I called Angela. They quit their jobs, she said. I didn't understand. Both of them? Looks like it. They're either trying to dodge the garnishment, or they're really out of options. That's when I realized something. They'd rather burn their lives down than admit they did something wrong. And that's exactly what they were doing. 2 weeks later, I got served. Craig and Mallory were countersuing me for emotional distress and defamation. The suit said I'd caused irreparable harm to their marriage and reputation, and demanded $100,000 in damages. I laughed when I read it. Then I got sick to my stomach. Because this wasn't just petty anymore. This was war. Angela told me not to worry. It's weak, she said. We'll tear it apart in court. But the thing is, it didn't matter if they had a case or not. They were using the legal system to punish me. To drag me through hell. They didn't want money. They wanted me exhausted. They wanted me scared. And I'll admit, for a while, it worked. I stopped sleeping. My blood pressure went up. I lost 10 pounds in a month. I couldn't stop thinking, how did my own daughter become this person? And then one night, it hit me. She'd always been this person. I just refused to see it. I started digging. Not to get revenge. Just to understand. I went through old emails. Old bank statements. Texts. I made a timeline of every dollar I'd ever sent them. Every time they asked. Every excuse. Patterns started showing up. The same emergencies, the same sob stories, often just months apart. Things they claimed they needed help for, like Craig's car repairs, lined up with photos on social media of them taking weekend trips to Kansas City. Spa days. A fancy new iPad for the twins. They hadn't been surviving. They'd been using me. Worse, they'd been lying to me the whole time. I made a binder. Tabs, color-coded. Receipts. Dates. Photos. Screenshots. I sent a copy to Angela. She called me that night. This is gold, she said. We're not just going to win. We're going to destroy their countersuit. I wasn't happy. I wasn't relieved. I just felt cold. Like all the love I had for Mallory had finally run dry. And I knew what I had to do next. A friend of mine works for Kelloland News. She reached out after seeing the Facebook drama and asked if I wanted to do a follow-up. At first, I said no. I didn't want the attention again. But after the countersuit, I changed my mind. We filmed the segment in my kitchen. I showed them the binder. I didn't cry. I didn't even raise my voice. I just told the truth. Again. 2 days after it aired, I got a letter in the mail from an old neighbor of Mallory's. In it was a copy of a police report. Something from 6 years ago, when Craig got caught taking equipment from his old job and selling it for cash. The charges had been dropped. No one ever talked about it. Until now. I gave the report to Angela. Now we had leverage. And Mallory? She had no idea what was coming. I didn't go looking for dirt on Craig. Honestly, I didn't have to. It found me. After that second news story aired, the one with the binder, the receipts, the screenshots, people started talking. Messaging me. Folks I hadn't seen or heard from in years. One message stood out. It was from a woman named Shelley, who used to work with Craig at the grain elevator before he got laid off. She said she didn't want to stir the pot but thought I should know that Craig's layoff wasn't exactly how Mallory had told it. I called her the next morning. We talked for almost an hour. Turns out, Craig hadn't been laid off at all. He'd been fired. Shelley said there were rumors of him falsifying timesheets, showing up late, clocking out early, even logging hours for days he didn't work. Management caught it, warned him once, then let him go the second time. But Craig told everyone, including Mallory, apparently, that he was laid off with the others. I sat there staring at the phone long after the call ended. I remembered the way Mallory had cried when she called me about the mortgage. The way Craig had kept his mouth shut. The way I had sent $2,000 that same night, no questions asked. All lies. But it didn't stop there. Angela asked me to keep a low profile while she prepped for court. But I couldn't sit still. I needed to understand how deep this went. So I called Dana again. Asked her, gently, what she knew. She hesitated. Then said something I wasn't expecting. Mom. I think they used her money to pay off a private loan. What loan? From some guy Craig knew. His name's Evan. I think it was gambling related. My stomach dropped. Dana told me that a couple years back, Craig got in deep with sports betting. Lost thousands. Tried to flip it back and got in deeper. Eventually borrowed money from someone local, Evan Hill, who's known around town for lending cash with a smile and collecting with fists. I felt sick. All that money I thought was helping my grandkids stay warm, it might have gone straight into the pocket of a loan shark. I gave everything to Angela. The name. The gambling. Even Shelley's statement about Craig getting fired. Angela said, let them come to court with their little defamation suit. We'll light it on fire. Meanwhile, Mallory and Craig started posting even more online. They claimed I was obsessed. That I was harassing them. That I'd turned the kids against their own parents. That part hurt. Because the truth is, I hadn't seen my grandkids in months. Mallory cut me off. Refused to let me talk to them. Said I was too unstable. I missed them more than I can put into words. Then one morning in March, I got a plain white envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Inside were 3 crayon drawings. One was a picture of me, with my gray bun and pink glasses. The second was a house, with a stick figure lying on the steps and an ambulance drawn beside it. The third was just 4 words in messy handwriting, Grandma, I miss you. No name, but I knew who it was from. Lily, one of the twins. I sat down on my front steps and cried. They were trying to poison my relationship with my grandkids. Just like they tried to ruin my name. Just like they tried to ruin me in court. But now I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for truth. For dignity. For the part of me they hadn't been able to break. 3 days before the court date, Craig did something stupid. He texted Dana. You better tell your mom to back off. We've got people watching her house. Dana sent me a screenshot. Angela filed for a restraining order that same afternoon. We submitted it with the rest of the countersuit evidence. That's when everything changed. Instead of dragging out their fake lawsuit, Craig and Mallory's new attorney filed a motion to dismiss their own case. No explanation. Just gone. But our original civil judgment? Still in place. Still legally enforceable. And now we had a pending restraining order hearing on top of it. Angela said, this is where you stay strong. Because people like them? They double down when they're cornered. She was right. That night, someone slashed my tires. All 4 of them. And taped a note to my windshield that said, keep pushing, see what happens. I didn't call Mallory. I didn't even cry. I called the police. And then I called Angela. Because now, this wasn't just about money. Or pride. Or betrayal. Now it was criminal. And I was going to take everything they'd thrown at me, every lie, every smear, every threat, and turn it into something they couldn't walk away from. This time I wasn't backing down. The cops came out and looked at the slashed tires. The note. The timing. They filed a report. Said they'd keep an eye on things, but I knew better. In this town, unless there's blood on the sidewalk, most folks don't take threats seriously. But Angela did. She brought everything to the restraining order hearing, the tire slashing, the threatening message Craig sent Dana, the police report, even the envelope with my grandkids' drawings to show how they were trying to weaponize the kids. The judge didn't even let Mallory or Craig speak. Restraining order granted. Full 1 year no contact, with an extension if needed. That meant they couldn't come near me, text me, show up at my house, nothing. They also couldn't use the kids to send messages. That should have been enough. But it wasn't. Because Angela had also filed to reopen the civil case, not just for garnishment, but for fraud, harassment, and emotional abuse. And we weren't going after just them. We were going after their assets. Which, funny enough, weren't as hidden as they thought. Turns out, after the first judgment, Craig had transferred ownership of a used pickup truck and a snowmobile to his cousin to avoid seizure. But his cousin was dumb enough to brag about it on Facebook. Pictures, dates, captions like, "Thanks for the early Christmas gift, bro." Angela had receipts. And when we presented it to the judge, he was furious. Asset hiding meant automatic penalty, plus we could now request seizure of anything under either of their names. Angela filed immediately. Within a month, we had liens on their bank accounts, their car, and whatever furniture they had left from the house. Court gave us the right to send a repo team for any unpaid value from the original judgment, plus $12,000 in legal fees. It only got worse for them from there. Remember that police report from Craig's old job? The one Shelley told me about? Angela forwarded it to the Department of Labor anonymously. They started digging. 1 month later, Craig was under investigation for falsifying employment records, not just once, but at 2 past jobs. Both times, he got fired but somehow convinced people he'd been laid off. Then the IRS got wind of it. Turns out, Craig and Mallory hadn't reported a big chunk of the money I gave them. Some of those transfers were listed as gifts and donations on their taxes. The IRS didn't like that. Not one bit. They were hit with a full audit. Mallory tried to play victim online again. Said she was being bullied by old people who don't understand modern parenting. Claimed the courts were rigged against young families. But no one bought it this time. People remembered the tire slashing. The threats. The lies. The local paper ran another article. This one wasn't kind. Headline read, "Mother who gave $40,000 now sees justice, family lies, threats, and a trail of debt." I didn't ask them to print it. But I didn't stop them either. The final blow came 6 months later. The court ordered a public auction of Craig and Mallory's seized property. Car, snowmobile, furniture, even the wedding ring Mallory had tried to hide in her sister-in-law's house. Angela made sure I was there for it. I watched a stranger's bid on the life I'd helped them build. Then something unexpected happened. Dana showed up with the twins. She didn't say anything. Just walked over, hugged me tight, and whispered, "They're not getting the kids back." I pulled back. "What do you mean?" "Child Protective Services is involved," she said. "Someone reported the threats, the environment, the screaming, the money stuff. They're under investigation." I didn't ask who made the report. But I had a pretty good guess. For the first time in months, I felt something warm settle in my chest. Hope. By the end of the year, I had a court-ordered payment plan still in place, a restraining order renewed for 3 more years, and legal authority to collect from any future employment Craig or Mallory might get. And now with CPS watching, they couldn't use the kids as shields anymore. As for me, I started going to therapy. Angela said it was a good idea. At first, I didn't think I needed it. I was tough, always had been. But something had cracked during all of this. Something I hadn't even realized was broken until I started talking. Turns out, I had spent most of my life trying to earn love from people who only took. That was my mistake. That was my part in all this. The therapist helped me understand something simple: love without boundaries isn't love. It's self-destruction. So I put up boundaries. And I started rebuilding. 6 months later, Dana asked me if I'd consider being the twins' part-time guardian. Just until things settled. Maybe longer. I said yes. Not out of revenge. Not to win. But because they deserved better. And because I finally understood what my job really was. Not to save my grown daughter from her own choices. But to protect the next generation from becoming just like her. As for Mallory and Craig, they live in a basement apartment now. Craig works under the table when he can find it. Mallory doesn't talk to anyone except strangers online who still believe she's a victim. The IRS garnishes any refund they try to file. They owe over $18,000 in back taxes. And the judgment I have? It's still active. It'll follow them forever. And me? I sleep just fine these days. Because in the end, the truth held up. And so did I.